Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and it's time to make a video that even I didn't want to make. Why am I making it then? Well, I have a little text file of video ideas, and this is dead last on it, and there's nothing above it at the moment. You guys might have caught on to the fact that I don't like net decking. I think it ruins the game, and if you don't agree with me, sorry, but Wizards is on my side and said it word for word. Their management said, and I am paraphrasing, something like, back in the day before the internet, before people would post the tournament results, it would take people longer to, quote, solve the new standard blocks or cycles or rotations. So the whole point of Magic in the first place, according to them, was to build a deck and then improve it and then make it better, make it better. And if you think you can't make it better, then, build a new deck, go to a different strategy, use a different mechanic, switch colors, add a color, and that's fun. That's fun to me. That's the most fun part of Magic is deck building and slowly improving. Probably because I'm originally like total OG RPG player, so I'm used to like tweaking my equipment, crafting stuff, leveling up my character, and just slowly getting better over time. Hell, I even like working on cars and upgrading them, ever so slightly and doing little paint modifications and little tiny tweaks to make them go faster, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just what I do to everything, basically. Hell, I just tweaked my video editing software to correct a slight problem. You might notice the videos look a little bit different, aka better. Oh, and I also upgraded my CPU, and I added another 4 gigs RAM, too. So I know that's not everybody's thing. Some people just, they just want to play chess. That's it. Like, they want to sit down, everybody's got the same pieces, and they just want to outplay the opponent. They aren't interested in designing the chess set or the mechanics of it or doing math or probability. They just want to play the game. And, that's cool. I get that. I'm not saying that people like that shouldn't play Magic. But net decking is like a whole other thing. I mean, people go into it saying, I'm going to buy the best deck, and because I bought the best deck, I'm entitled to win. So if I lose to somebody, that shouldn't have happened. Which obviously, if you truly know Magic the Gathering, you know that that is not the case. This game has so much variance, it is insane. You can get shut down just based on lands, just bad luck 5 to 10% of the time. There is no, oh, I'm more powerful than you, I win. That's more like going back to like MMO PvP. If you got a level 25 guy and you're going up against level 5 guy, you're going to beat him every single time because you're more powerful. But that's just not how Magic works. It's too complex. If people thought they had the most powerful deck in the world back when goblins were really hot and they had all the, oh, I'm going to drop out a token, a goblin token every time I swing, and I'm just going to run you over with goblins on turn 4 or 5. I have told the story a billion times. You guys already know the ending. I built a black mass kill deck. All it did was kill people, lifelink stall, and the most aggressive high power creatures I could put in there. And I won every single game against the goblin people. None of them even stood a chance. Some of them even dropped before they sat down because, well, they knew what I was playing that month. But hey, it cuts both ways. Drown in Sorrow costs 3, and if I didn't get 3 mana on the field and I was holding them, I lose. I mean, you can lose. It doesn't matter what you're playing. You could literally have 8 cards in the deck where they cost 0 mana and say you win the game, and you might lose the game. So people need to get the whole best deck idea out of their heads, okay? There is no best deck. I mean, you might be able to say, all things being equal, this one works better, does more damage, and is more consistent. But there's always a deck that can beat it. Except for Jeskai Black and Esper Control, those decks were demented. In fact, I think Caw-Blade was like win on turn 0 whether you go first or not. That deck was just an atrocity. But of course, everything I said relates to Standard. Modern has been around for about 6 years. Now, 6 years is a long enough amount of time to solve the format or whatever, however they want to put it. The Wizard staff, like I said, has said that they liked it better and things were a lot simpler from a set design standpoint when the internet wasn't that big of a thing back in the day. You didn't really know the tournament results, and you just had to build the deck yourself. You're just kind of on your own, and the only people you could copy were people with better decks than you at FNM. That was how the game was originally intended, and now that, 5 seconds after the tournament ends, they're all posted on, some website, all the full deck list, now we've got a problem. So they have to work around it. They have to say, okay, everybody's going to figure out a really, really hot deck, or if we leave an infinite combo in, everybody's going to figure it out. and then we've got a problem. So they have to really test the crap out of these sets. But that's the thing. If you think about Modern, they don't test a damn thing. They don't test anything in Modern. They just wait for, like, you guys to break a deck, just dominate a tournament, and then they ban a card. You know, welcome to the Eldrazi winter. If you look at all the bannings that actually occurred after the start of Modern, so during Modern, every single one was just like a disastrously OP deck, except for some of the more controversial bannings. Amulet Bloom had it coming, but Splinter Twin, I'm still kind of on the fence about that one. I just hate the card, and I hate infinite combos, so based on that, I think it should have been banned, but the reasons that they gave were a load of crap. So I totally agree with that. But net decking in Modern. Let's talk about net decking in Modern, because when people say if you're not net decking, you will lose in Standard, it's not true. I mean, Gravity Bomb, like I said, it can beat almost anything in Standard right now. I mean, Gravity Bomb is just disgusting. It is utterly ridiculous. I've had a couple people say that they got stomped with it. You're probably not playing it correctly, sorry to tell you. Everybody else, we're all sweeping FNM with it. I mean, and then you look at the tournament, if you don't want to go by my deck, look at the last tournament. Somebody won with a 12, or not won, but, you know, top 8. Top 8 is winning. They top 8'd with a $12 deck. So everybody's out there telling you, you need to play this. This is the strongest. You need to play this. You need to play vehicles. You need to play aggro. No, you don't. I mean, the guy who came in 8th just as easily could have come in 1st. I mean, it's that variant at that level. He told everybody, hey... Actually, I don't know that it was a guy, so I should probably stop saying that. But you know what? We're going with the Latin version of, like, he, which is, like, refers to both genders. Actually, the closest pronoun in Latin would be they. But anyway, they said, everybody's wrong. I've got a deck idea. I'm confident in it. I know math. I know magic. I know how to play. I'm bringing it. And then there you go. 8th place. Guess what? They were correct. So to sit there and say in Standard that the net deckers are always correct, the net decks are always the best, especially this early in the cycle, hell no. But you fast forward 16 weeks or whatever it is, they probably still haven't figured out the most powerful deck, most likely. And plus, it would be more like, you know, you can't just say there's a most powerful deck in Modern when Affinity works completely different than Jund. They're so different you can't even compare them. You can't say one's better. I mean, you could apply any kind of math and somebody could say, yeah, but this, or yeah, but it gets beat by this and this is a weaker deck, so what about that? But in Standard, there's no time. That's why it's very, very, very different. That's why I'm so against net decking in Standard. But I get the question all the time, am I against net decking in Modern? In principle, yes. Just because I don't like copying people. The whole point of the game, since its invention, was to build your own damn deck. And then you go to Modern, and what's the point of Modern? Play with more cards. Use your old cards. Take an old Mythic from 6 sets ago and use it in your deck. Build some crazy deck. You know what an insanely, insanely powerful tier like 2.5 deck is? Honestly, tier 2 at this point? Black Devotion. Hey, yeah, everybody out there, raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Black Devotion Modern deck. Probably not, because people are so caught up in how OP as balls Affinity is. Mono Black anything is extremely powerful. I mean, look at my Black Kill deck, Black Death. That thing is insane. I mean, that is my best performing deck when I go to competitive Modern events. Then you look at my other deck, Tap Dance. I mean, it's funny. I just built it because I thought it was, like, so exploitative and just stupid and just horrible, which is what I think of Modern in general. So it matched perfectly. But it's so susceptible to removal and stuff. It's not, like, a good competitive deck, but it's like if I get my combo off, I win. So why not in Modern build a whole bunch of if I get my combo off, I win decks? In fact, one of my friends built one. It was a Narset deck where on like turn 3 or 4, as long as he had a couple, 8 of cards in his hand, so it was reasonable, he could go through his deck one card at a time, and if he hit the card he was looking for, he won, because he could like cast his whole deck. I think it was like an Enter the Infinite thing, or Omniscience, whatever, or both. But if he didn't hit it, he would lose, because he would take like 2 or 3 damage per card or something until he hit it. I think he called it the Narset Suicide combo deck. I love that freaking deck. He built it completely on his own, and it wasn't even that expensive. It used Narset very shortly after she had cycled out, or maybe even before. I don't even remember. It's a brilliant deck. I think he calculated the success rate of like 60%. So not exactly Amulet Bloom, not exactly Splinter Twin, but it was funny and it was competitive. He really could sweep a tournament with that if he got lucky enough. I think that when you add in the math of mulliganing, he actually had closer to a 75% chance of winning. But see, that's the thing about competitive Modern. Nobody comes up with these brand new decks and wins with them very often. There are exceptions. If you watch the 2013 World Tournament, I think it was, somebody was playing some whacked out thing I had never seen in my life. Repetitive board wipe like Graveyard Recycling Sphinx's Revelation Supreme Verdict Quicken. Like that's with like a Planeswalker, and the deck has no win condition. He has to steal one of your cards and kill you with it. I believe he ended up coming in first place at that tournament with that whacked out deck that nobody's ever seen before. And I remember some guy real recently, he went 8-0 with a mill deck. I think it used that Origins card, Sphinx's Tutelage or whatever. So, new card comes out and he's like, hey, I got an idea. This will work. Cool. Shows up at the tournament, freaking destroys everybody. I think he got absolutely demolished on day 2, but it was funny and it worked. So to an extent, you can say that net decking absolutely is not necessary to win in Modern, but boy is the deck building a little bit harder. And you're going to fall into almost like automatic partial net decking. When you go to look up what the best white removal spell is, I mean, you guys are already thinking of it. You don't even need to look it up. It is a fact that it is Path to Exile. That's maybe not a great example because people use Path to Exile completely incorrectly and against the wrong decks and then failed to sideboard it out because they still think it's appropriate. Okay, the super short version of that is, guess what happens when you give me 1 extra land in my Beholder deck? The answer is you lose the game. I do have a very specific video coming up in the future that honestly I should have made instead of this one because I just remembered I forgot to put it on the list. It has to do with Path to Exile, so I'll save the logic for that video. Now keep in mind, of course, Path does cost 1, it is an instant, that's pretty insane, and it can only target creatures and only ones without hexproof, so, it's not the perfect, cover all, but it costs 1. I mean, any other exile that's reasonably good costs at least 2. If I say what's the most powerful creature in blah, and then just fill in the color, you'll probably have 1 or 2 answers. I mean, so no matter what your deck does, you're going to say, I need the best mill card, the best removal, the best black kill spell, the best hand disruption. I mean, you're not going to say, oh, I don't want to play Thoughtseize, I don't want to play Inquisition of Kozilek, I want to play Duress. No, you really don't, because that card is absolutely worse. So unfortunately with Modern, the nature of it is you're just going to keep coming back to the same cards. So you might share 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 cards with a common net deck, and people are saying, oh, you're playing a different version of this deck. Well, no, you built the deck from scratch. It was a completely different concept, it uses completely different cards, but you're going to go back to these couple staples. So as far as people saying, oh, I'm building a Modern deck, I'm going to put in Path to Exile, or I'm going to put in, Go for the Throat. Actually, I don't remember if Go for the Throat, Doomblade, or that other one is the one that everybody uses. Well, Go for the Throat is non-colorless, I think, or non-artifact or something. It's quite good. Oh, most people use that Phyrexian one, but I don't agree with that at all. If you use it against Burn Junder Zoo, you just lost the game, but that's completely off the topic. Besides the staples, though, I mean, yeah, people have tweaked these decks and made them just a little bit better until there is basically 1 or 2 versions of Affinity or Storm that are just the best. Like, you can look at them, compare them to a different deck list, and say, this will work better, this is faster, it's mathematically more reliable. So I will accept that the net decks are the best versions of the decks out there, sparing them printing something different. Like in a new set, like from Standard. But keep in mind, though, that if you have a really good Modern idea, build it. I mean, I've heard so many people, especially in my comment section, tell people, hey, this person's getting into Modern and asking about it. They say, I'm getting into Modern, what should I play? What do you recommend? And somebody jumps in and says, oh, just pick one of the net decks, because if you don't, you might as well not play. That is so massively incorrect because of one thing. People do not realize, they do not understand how unbelievably likely it is that a deck you came up with is within 10% as good as one of the top net decks. If you don't believe me, I will take let's be honest and say 3 out of my 4 modern decks that I built, and just demolish your net deck over and over and over. I have played thousands and thousands of games on X-Mage, and I'm evidently confident that my decks can win. I'd say 50% of the people on X-Mage are running $1,000 to $3,000 net decks because you don't have to pay for the cards, and the other 50% are just running these whacked out homebrews that are hilarious, and I honestly lose to them more often than the net decks. I do not design a deck, I do not play a deck, and I do not build a deck in real life unless it can win, and my decks absolutely can do that. And that just by itself proves that, you can build whatever you want in Modern, and it might be good, it might be competitive. People really do seem to be missing the point that both players, to an extent, could get screwed over by mana. They could get screwed over by bad draws. You could just keep drawing the same stupid, irrelevant card, like a kill spell, and there's nothing on the field, whatever. So you could get shut down. You both have about the same probability of that, depending upon draw and scry and that sort of thing. That is the big pendulum of good luck, bad luck in MTG, the variance pendulum. And it might swing and hit your opponent in the face, or it might come back at you and kick you right in the nuts. Welcome to Magic, but besides the variance, you only need to win 2/3 of the games, okay? That means that if your deck is, 75% less powerful and less good and less likely to work and just slower and less damage output over the turns and, just basically by any benchmark it's worse, you're not going to win 2 out of 3. But if your deck is even 20% less good, even though that's not even like a real measurement, but to the best of our ability to measure it, if your deck is 20% less good, you very easily could reliably win 2 out of 3 in a round. Unfortunately, there are like 5 rounds at FNM, or 4, depending upon the size of your local gaming store, or, your event that plays Modern. At a large tournament, good luck, 8 rounds on day 1. Or maybe it's like 10 now. I don't even know. You guys know I don't give a crap about, tournaments. But in just a single match, single round, or even a couple, 10-20% is not going to say, oh, you're just going to go 0-4, 0-5 every single time you play Modern, build a net deck or lose. My decks are proof that that is not true. My friends' decks are proof that that's not true. And I'm so sick of some of you saying that I'm bragging. Yeah, I'm bragging about my decks and how great I am at building them. No, I'm just informing you that I built dirt cheap decks that are competitive, okay? I'm just telling you that they win on X-Mage. It doesn't matter if it's me playing it or you playing it, or if I built a deck or you built a deck. There are decks out there that win reliably online. I'm not going to not say it because it sounds braggy. I have to tell you that to make this video, so get over it. Jeez, some people in my comment section really need therapy, seriously. I'm starting to think ODD is spreading. So what do we have as far as the answer to, is net decking okay in Modern? It's understandable, okay? Like, there are decks that are really established, really good, really consistent. Yes, you're going to have a giant disadvantage because people are going to know what's in it as soon as they know what you're playing. But they're strong decks and they reliably win at tournaments for a reason. So if you want a net deck in Modern, okay, that's on you. But on the flip side, Wizards of the Coast has said that the whole point of Magic is to build a deck. Not copy a deck, build a deck. Develop a deck, upgrade a deck, test a deck, play with the deck, hopefully win with the deck. That is part of Magic, whether you want to, put your fingers in your ears and say, nah, and pretend it doesn't exist or not. So the game isn't designed to be net decked. You're supposed to come up with new ideas and stuff. Then you've got the fact that rogue decks, hellos, a couple people said, hey, we could build a brand new deck with Eldrazi, which honestly, wasn't a new deck. Nothing's a new deck in Modern. There always was an Eldrazi deck. It was some crappy third-rate deck. But they said, hey, these new Eldrazi, let's do it. Let's bring it. Boom, demolish the whole tournament. In fact, they even ruined the next tournament. Those people were correct. They said these net decks are crap. We have a better deck that's more powerful. Yes, it's a brand new idea, but guess what? We're confident in it. Boom, swept the tournament. And what did the net deckers do? They This is the funniest part. This is what makes my head want to explode, okay? These people go, oh, nobody's going to win with a rogue deck. You got to bring one of the tier 1 decks, or you might as well not even go to the tournament. Then the Eldrazi deck wins, and 60% of people on MTGO, within a week, are playing that deck. So they said, yeah, this is the new deck. Everybody copy this deck if you want a chance of winning. If you're not playing Eldrazi, you're not going to win. days after they were saying, no, if you don't bring a tier 1 deck, then you're not going to win. If you come up with your own deck, you're an idiot. So somebody flipped like a switch that just boop, snapped their fingers and it went from rogue deck to net deck and now it's okay? Like, were you there before it existed? But did you watch that happen? Oh my god, net deckers are just so stupid. They're just so illogical and so stupid, they piss me off to no end. So the game is designed, especially modern, to not be net decked in. Then somebody brought a rogue deck and just demolished a tournament. Plus it's happened in the past, it's happened in standard, it happens all the time. Plus then you throw in the fact that all net decks were rogue decks at some point. Somebody had to build those decks. Then add in the fact that I've got decks, you've got decks, people on X-Mage got decks, my friends have decks, people who go to the modern tournaments have decks. Everybody has decks that are not net decks, and they're good. They're good enough to reliably win. If they're 5 or 10% below the power and consistency of a top-tier deck, then it's a good deck and you might win with it. There's no reason to go a little tiny bit more powerful and drop an extra $900 on the deck. Build whatever you want, and if you're confident in it and you know how to play Magic, you know how to build decks, and you know how to do math, you're probably correct if the deck actually does work in testing. Do not be afraid to not net deck in Modern. Anybody telling you that you either net deck in Modern or you lose is an idiot. They don't even understand how the game works at a basic level. So what do I think of net decking in Modern? It's understandable. It's a completely different format than Standard. It doesn't change much. Okay, I get it. You know, if you want to go net deck in Modern, go for it. Like, I get it. But do not tell people not to build their own decks, because they will build them and they will win with them. Decks come out of nowhere all the time and just stomp people. I mean, if you look at the last couple World Tournament and GP and Pro Tour results, some really weird crap tends to creep into the top 8 very, very, very often. So finally, that is my official complex explanation of my opinion of net decking in Modern. Kind of a two-faced coin. Net decking in Standard is completely unacceptable for any reason. If somebody even hints at the fact that they're running, quote, the best deck, they are wrong. 99% of the time they are wrong, because there's probably going to be a better deck at the next tournament proving them wrong. In Modern, well, I've already said what I think of it, so that is the official answer to people's questions about what I think about net decking in Modern. Hopefully, we can stop talking about it now. I'll see you guys next video.